Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we've got some recent sales for the vintage collection. There were also a couple of customs that sold that I had to show you. I just thought they looked so cool. I don't collect customs personally, but they were kind of in the same scale, 3.75 inch, and whoever makes these things, I mean, they really take their time on them. And I have some autographed items. We had another mouse droid that sold. The Republic Gunship sold. One pre-sale for the new Jabba the Hutt playset that comes packed in with the Salacious Crumb reissue. Lots of good data. Most of these are actually make an offer situations. There weren't too many auctions that I found that were particularly interesting. You'll notice that my skin color is like used shoe leather. I got absolutely fried yesterday at the state fair riding rides that I thought I was going to die on because my kids wanted me to. I made it through. I did not die. Thank God. All right. First of all, we've got a lot of two Boba Fetts. First is a foil Ultimate Galactic Hunt, and then we had the Return of the Jedi version of Boba Fett with the Prototype Fett offer. These were listed for $120 for the pair. They both appeared to be in really great shape. I didn't really see any issues with them. Both of them obviously punched. And $120 was the list price. They sold for $110, so $60 a piece for a foil plus the Return of the Jedi. So I thought that was a really good deal. It seems like a steal of a deal to me. Next up, we had the Prototype Fett Armor VC61, and this was unpunched, again in really great shape. That one sold for $120. That's a little higher than I've been seeing. Seems like they're closer to $80 to $100 right now. They've really come back down. All the Fetts have come back down. And speaking of really coming down, this is the rocket firing VCPO3 that looked to be case fresh and included the shipper box. That was sold for $95. So pretty incredible how much most of the Boba Fetts for the vintage collection have dropped in price. It's just crazy. During the Book of Boba Fett, this was like $450, $500 in high grade, you know, AFA graded. So just a big drop on those. Jango Fett, again, this kind of goes back to what I talked about last week, that Jango Fett has come back down to earth a little bit. This one, VC34, this is the US card unpunched again. And again, I didn't look too closely at it, but it looked to be in pretty good shape. Maybe some very light scuffs to it, but that's being very picky about it. This one was in pretty good shape. $90. And again, 3 or 4 months ago, this was more like $150, $175. So I don't know why. I don't have the rhyme or reason as to why some things spike and then some things come back down, but Jango Fett is one that has definitely come back down to earth a little bit. This was an interesting seller. He had a number, or she had a number of different Canadian examples available in buy it now situations that I wanted to show you. First is Han Solo Echo Base with the multi-language name pill. Again, all of these are Canadian cardbacks. Foil example. This one sold for $130. I always love it when the language just takes over the entire name pill. There's something about that it's just so cool. It's almost like having a tri-logo for the modern vintage collection. They also had a Canadian Magna Guard on the foil cardback. That one was listed for $180 and sold for $150 in a make an offer situation. Here was the Canadian Bastilla Shan punched example. And, you know, it had a little bit of edge wear to it, so it wasn't perfect, but it was listed for $150, and that one sold for $125. Some of y'all are into getting all the different variations for the cardback, so I can see the appeal on these Canadian examples. And, you know, we've talked about this at length, that the production numbers for the Canadian examples, the Canadian cardbacks, were supposedly one of these for every 10 of the U.S. examples. I have no way to verify that, but, you know, it makes sense because the U.S. examples were used over in Europe. They just blacked it out on the front, on the top two corners, and then added the warning label for most of them. There were some printed Eurozone examples where the warning labels were printed on the card back, but most of them are just U.S. cards where they have the sticker on the back. So, you know, you have to believe that the U.S. examples were very, very plentiful in terms of production numbers relative to these Canadian examples. So again, that one's the Bastilla Shan sold for $125. They also had the Canadian General Grievous. That one also sold for $125. This was a punched example. That's one I don't see very often. I don't see the Canadian General Grievous pop up very much. I've only seen it a handful of times on eBay. And then here is the one that everyone really wants. This is the VC64 Princess Leia in her slave outfit, again with the multi-language name pill. Punched example. That one was listed for $350, and the best offer accepted on that was $300. So pretty cool listings there for the Canadian, you know, fairly high grade. Most of them had a little bit of issues here and there, but just interesting sales that you don't see pop up that much. Speaking of not popping up very much, this is the Darth Vader name pill, Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith, and this was unpunched. This is a tough one to find unpunched. And for the longest time, I always said $450. I mean, there were like 2 or 3 or 4 sales all right in a row that were all extremely expensive. And I know that Darth Vader is not as... I think the Darth Vader is unpunched is a little bit easier to find than the Anakin name pill unpunched, but it's still a pretty desirable one. And that one sold for $215, and it seems like it's been more like $250 for this one lately. So $215 is a pretty good deal, I think, relative to some of the other recent sales. Mouse Droid. This one was not perfect. It did have some creasing on the card back, so you can see the close-up of the crease there. Seller was kind enough to not try and hide that. And that one sold for $900. $900. So that's a big number to me. I think you could probably just get the SDCC set if you got the money, sell it all off in part, you know, in separate pieces, and you could probably get that Mouse Droid paid for pretty easily. But I'd be curious to see how that Salacious Crumb from the SDCC Death Star box set holds up now that we're starting to see pre-sales for that Jabba the Hutt playset, which I'll get to in a second. Here is a Return of the Jedi offerless R2-D2. That's one you don't see very often. Usually it's got an offer as well as the offer paperwork inside, but this one is a true offerless, and that one sold for $85, unpunched US card. Very nice. Some other nice examples. Again, going back to Bastilla Shan, this was the US example, unpunched. That one sold for $160. That's a big number there. That one's kind of creeped back up again. It got kind of down to $100, but admittedly, these look to be pretty clean overall. So $160 on that one. Same seller also had Shea Vizsla on the unpunched US card. That one sold for $100. That seems to be about the going rate for that one. Very consistently about $100 for the original issue. Speaking of the Jabba the Hutt action playset, again, I don't know if I would buy it on eBay in a pre-sale, just given that you don't have any buyer protection. You're really depending on the seller to follow through, because by the time some of these release, I don't know when this is actually going to be released to retail, but just wait for them to actually hit. I think you'll get it for the same price is my guess. But this one obviously includes 8D8 as well as the remodeled reissue Salacious Crumb, and there's the 8D8 kind of mock-up there. So that one sold for $175 free shipping in a pre-sale. So again, I just be patient and wait for those to actually hit collectors' hands before you buy one if you did not pre-order one from Hasbro Direct. Next up, we've got 2 different sales for the Razor Crest. I just thought they were interesting sales. At first, in an auction, this was still sealed in the shipper box. That one sold for $482 plus $35 shipping. And then this one was not in the shipper box, but it included the shipper box. And it's almost like you want to see what you're actually getting, because you don't know what it really looks like inside the shipper box if it's still sealed. This one did have a corner ding that you can see up there, but that one sold for $520 free shipping. So about the same price as the one that sold in an auction after you account for shipping. So that seems to be still about the going rate. I've seen them a little lower, maybe $450, but I think once you start factoring in shipping, it seems to be about $500 to $525. Speaking of tough ones to find, here is the Toys R Us exclusive Republic Gunship. And we all know how expensive this one is. One side looked really good. This one did have a ding, though, on the other side. So just note that if you're looking for one that's super clean, which at this point, it's really hard to find one in perfect condition. But this is pretty good. Just one bad corner ding there. Mint and Seal box, Toys R Us exclusive Republic Gunship. That one sold for $725 plus $22 shipping, so a $750 for that one. And I don't think that's a particularly bad deal. I mean, I've seen them a little bit less, but this box looked to be in pretty pristine condition. So $750-ish was the going rate. A couple of autographs sold. First is one I used to have in my collection. This is VC100 Star Killer signed by Sam Witwer. And mine was signed up at the top, at the top of the card. This is actually signed on the blister. He's got a great autograph. And that one looked really clean. That one was listed for $125. Best offer accepted on that was $120 plus $5 shipping. Not a terrible deal at all for a Sam Witwer. This one also did have the Beckett's authentication on there, already authenticated. So that one's kind of ready for sending over to CAS for their signature series. If it's got the Beckett sticker on there, or all the other different kind of companies where it's been authenticated and has the sticker, you don't have to pay for it again. You just got to pay for the grading of the actual item for their signature series grading. Next up was Ahsoka Tano, and this one was signed by Rosario Dawson, and again include the JSA certification number there. So very cool there to get that one. And that one was listed for $210. Best offer accepted on that was $175, which seems reasonable. I don't know what they charge, but again, it had the JSA sticker on the back of the card there on the barcode. So I thought that was a really nice example for $175, $10 shipping. Two graded items before I show you a couple of cool customs. First is a CAS 80 Plus foil General Grievous. That was listed for $280. Best offer accepted on that was $240. I think for a CAS 80 Plus, I don't know if I'd pay that much. I think you could probably get it yourself for about $125 and get it graded if you want to take some grading risk. But 80 Plus is certainly a very respectable grade. 85, 80, 90 were the subscores on that one. So the blister is what held that one back. I'm guessing it just because of scratches, since this was a retail only, Ultimate Galacticon. Very tough to find these uncirculated, and most of them got maybe a little bit of scratching on the blister. And then next up was an uncirculated 8.5 Super Battle Droid from 2011, unpunched US card. That one sold for $195. Big number on that one. But even ungraded, the Super Battle Droid seems to be a pretty expensive one. And then here are two customs I had to show you. This is the Jeddah Benthic Idrio Partisan Rogue One. I have no idea what that means, but basically they were showing you that this was it was not two tubes, I guess. I don't know. To me, it looks like two tubes, but this seller, look at these customs that this seller has put together. These are absolutely incredible customs. And I know that he probably pulls from maybe the 5 points of articulation examples and puts them on better figures. But in general, I just thought that the quality of his work was really nice. I mean, look at the weathering and all that stuff on these figures. Just love the work on those. $79 in an auction on that one, plus $5 shipping. And then this seller had what was listed as a 4-pack of tactical gear clones. I can't tell if they're ready to play Rainbow Six, SWAT, or if they're ready to tackle the separatists, but I just like the way they looked. I thought they were pretty cool. I don't know if I'd pay $380 for them, but that's what they sold for this 4-pack of clones. But very nice work by the customizers out there. I just think in general, the customized community, Hasbro needs to hire some of these people and put some of these out, because they're just really awesome looking figures. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at some recent sales for the vintage collection. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back very soon.